Today I'm at Killeshin, in the southeast of County Laois, near the beautiful hill slopes of Slieve Margie, where I'm visiting the ruins of an important monastic site about 3 miles from Carlow town. The name of this old church and parish are said to have been derived from that of the valley in which it was built, for it was commonly called Dlaun Ushin in the Irish annals and martyrologies. Today in Irish, Killeshin is known as Killeshin. Its patron saint is Comgan, whose feast day is on the 27th of February, and who lived, according to Canon O'Hanlon's Lives of the Irish Saints, in the 9th century. Saint Comgan was born in Munster, and he founded a church in the county of Clare before his elevation to the post of abbot here at Killeshin. Little is known of the life of Saint Comgan, apart from the tradition that he was greatly venerated in Ireland, where his office, containing 9 lessons, was formerly recited. The monastic site here at Killeshin was founded, according to some accounts, as early as the 5th century, long before the time of Saint Comgan. However, there is a strong belief that the founder at a later period was Saint Diarmaid, whose feast day is celebrated on the 8th of July. As O'Hanlon states in his History of the Queen's County, the early foundation of this church appears to have escaped from historic record. Another saint associated with Killeshin is Saint Murgjan, whose feast day is on the 27th of January, and who is recorded as having been an abbot here. It's worth quoting the following description of Killeshin from the Lives of Irish Saints entry for Saint Murgjan. There is a fine old ruined church within the graveyard at Killeshin, which is situated near a mountain stream that runs through a deep ravine. Below this spot, and on the churchyard side of this rivulet, the people have a tradition that a town formerly stood. It would seem that interments were frequent at this place, likewise as numbers of human bones had been turned from the soil. Primitive and simple in style, as appears the ruins still existing at Killeshin, yet the tourist and visitor of correct taste will find a symmetry and an agreement of proportions, with elegance or archaic workmanship and carving still preserved. The fine uphill walk from Carlow to this elevated site will prove a source of healthful recreation, and the scenery spreading out beneath, especially towards the east and north, has more than once afforded delight and inspiration to poets, artists and antiquaries. Despite the uncertainty about the precise period of its foundation, Killeshin was regarded as a religious centre through the 9th, 10th and 11th centuries, and a place of considerable ecclesiastical importance. Nothing remains of the monastic buildings of that period. In the year 1041, the monastery was attacked by Diarmaid mac Mael na Mo and his forces, who plundered and burned Killeshin, breaking down the oratory, killing 100 people and taking hundreds of others prisoner. The site was rebuilt, only to suffer a further attack and burning in the year 1077. Destroyed too in that great fire, in an act of desecration, were several yew trees that had been planted by monks to mark the sacred boundary of the monastery. The ruins that remain here today were built in the 12th century on the site of the burned oratory during the reign of Diarmaid mac Murchú, King of Leinster. He commissioned the building of churches and abbeys at Baltinglass, Ferns, Glendalough and here at Killeshin, all of which were built in the new Romanesque architectural style, which had come to Ireland in the early part of the 12th century. The ornate portal or doorway here is one of the finest examples in Ireland of this style of architecture, and it suggests that the religious community that lived here at that time retained at least a respectable degree of wealth. There are numerous striking features carved on this doorway, with its 4 recessed orders, decorated motifs, human heads, 11 in total, and numerous animal and foliage designs. Words inscribed on the doorway have fascinated experts and historians who have tried to interpret them. Regrettably, much of the lettering has been defaced. In William Wakeman's Handbook of Irish Antiquities, published in 1891, he gives this interesting observation. The church of Killeshin in the Queen's County, lying at a distance of about 2 miles from Carlow, appears to have been one of the most beautiful structures of this class ever erected in Ireland. Its doorway, until very lately, retained in a remarkable degree the original sharpness of its sculpture. I was informed that many years ago, a resident in the neighbourhood used to take pleasure in destroying, as far as he lay in his power, the interesting capitals he represented, and that to his labours, and not to the effects of time, we may attribute the almost total obliteration of an Irish inscription which formerly extended round the abacus, and of which but a few letters at present remain. Many have accepted that one inscription can be interpreted as "Pray for Diarmait, King of Leinster," that being Diarmait MacMurrochata, who commissioned the building of this church. The second inscription, Or Do Calachan, has been interpreted as "Pray for Calacan," who many believe was the sculptor responsible for creating this masterpiece. Another interesting feature of this doorway is its width. With its 4 concentric orders, the doorway gives the impression from a distance of great width, as the width of the outer order determines the viewer's impression. In fact, the actual width of the opening is only around 85 centimetres. About 20 yards to the southwest of the church entrance once stood a round tower or belfry. At the beginning of the 18th century, it was pulled down by a Captain Wolseley, a local landlord. Wolseley feared that his cattle, scratching themselves against its walls, might overturn the tower and thus be killed or kill others. So well built was the tower that when it fell, it came to the ground in one solid piece and was measured as 105 feet in height. Therefore, it was one of the tallest round towers in Ireland. Its stones were afterwards taken away and used to build houses in the neighbourhood. Close to the portal stands this impressive water font, another wonderful historic treasure. In Sir Charles Coote's 1801 publication for the Dublin Society entitled General View of the Agriculture and Manufactures of the Queen's County, he found that Killeshin was the chief town in the Queen's County during disturbed times, while a county jail and courthouse with a governor's mansion were here, although no trace of them remains. According to the history of the Queen's County, the present Catholic Church of Killeshin, built between 1819 and 1820, occupies the place where the town jail and gallows once stood, a place known as Gallows Hill. From the same source we learn that in penal times, Irish was generally spoken throughout this district, especially on the Carlow side. Another historic feature close to the monastic site of Killeshin is the mote, a type of fortification introduced to Ireland following the Anglo-Norman invasion of the 12th century. It once supported a wooden tower at its summit, known as a keep. This served as a final defensive stronghold, and often housed the owner's private quarters. The mote was usually accompanied by a bailey, which was a fenced or walled courtyard located at the mote's base, and it contained domestic buildings such as kitchens, stables and workshops, serving as the centre of daily life. The mote and bailey were usually surrounded by a protective ditch or water-filled mote. Fortified sites, such as motes, declined in popularity by the mid-medieval period, with the introduction of stone into the construction of tower houses and castles, which would endure substantially longer than the wooden keeps at the summit of motes. Finally, it is important to appreciate and acknowledge the skilled workmanship that sculpted from stone way back in the 12th century the ornamental features of the doorway here at Killeshin. Experts are of the opinion that the sculptors or masons who worked on this project also worked on the round tower at Timahoe, which has an elaborately decorated Romanesque doorway, the only one of its kind of all the round towers of Ireland. The skills required to execute this work were not acquired locally, and it is believed that the stonemasons involved, perhaps they were monks, learned their trade abroad in places such as Britain or the Rhineland. What a pity that the round tower of Killeshin that I referred to earlier was knocked to the ground. Perhaps it too had a Romanesque doorway, and it would have been interesting to compare it with the Timahoe doorway. We are left wondering. It is also incredible to think that when this portal was first completed, it was painted, and that coloured stonework was the norm in the 12th century. No trace of paintwork is visible today, but experts agree that applying paint would have been a delicate and costly exercise in light of the quantities of paint required. I hope you've enjoyed this tour of Klesian and its Romanesque doorway. From the beautiful monastic site at Killeshin, until the next time, farewell for now.